For me, it would be how women are socialized to handle emotions better than men, usually. Story 1. My wife changes her hair color several times a year. No one thinks twice about it. She also sits in a chair and plays with her own breasts while reading. Both seem quite normal. Story 2. Perceptiveness. It has taken me a lot of training to learn how to be as perceptive and observant as the women in my family are. It has been shocking to realize how much I used to live inside my head as a child and teenager, and also how oblivious adult men tend to be. Story 3. As a recent converted bald man, I am jealous of women having long hair. I know men can have long hair too, but with women it is more socially acceptable. Also, there is thinning of hair and other related issues. Story 4. The fashion. I don't have the luxury of going sleeveless in an office like my female coworkers do, and I hate it. I can't even wear something that shows my legs in summer. It gets hot and stuffy. Story 5. Women are allowed to express a range of emotions that men typically are not. It took a lot for me to be comfortable being affectionate with my nephew because I was worried about the judgment from others. But I do not care now. I am happy to walk around holding his hand, giving cuddles, and the little boy looks up to me. It is nice to be comfortable enough to be a good role model for him, since that is something I lacked as a child. Story 6. Come to think of it, okay. But real talk, I'm low-key jealous of how women can just compliment each other like it's nothing. A girl walks into the room and instantly it's, "Oh my God, I love your hair." And the other's like, "Girl, stop. Yours is perfect." All smiles, all love. Meanwhile, guys are like, "Nice shirt, loser." But let's talk about cozy clothes. Women's hoodies are 10 times softer. I swear they're made with clouds and magic or something. Every time I borrow one, I think, why doesn't mine feel like this? I am jealous. Story 7. There is a warmth women are received with in our society that men simply are not. I understand why women are wary of men, but it is difficult to be distrusted by default. I try not to let it affect me, but it does hurt. There was a movie that came out in 2021 called Chaos Walking, where the thoughts of men and boys appeared above them. The premise was a little disconcerting, but all I could think was how refreshing it would be if people could simply see into my heart and know me for who I am, not who they fear me to be. Story 8. I am jealous of the support and attention women receive for almost anything. Men are fortunate if someone of the opposite sex notices and acknowledges us, let alone compliments us. Story 9. They are judged less for carrying something at all times. I personally use a backpack all the time because it is necessary for items I need constantly. Women carry purses, and nobody judges them if they have a larger one to hold many items. Story 10. Multiple orgasms. Sorry to be crude, but it must be amazing to climax numerous times in a single session. One ejaculation and I am done for 20 minutes, by which time the moment has passed. Story 11. If I had to pick something, it is that they are less likely to be treated with suspicion, more likely to be trusted and given leniency. As a man, especially a brown man, I am more likely to be treated as suspicious and distrusted until I prove otherwise. Story 12. Probably women have an easier way to talk about their feelings and any problems they are having. Men often cannot speak out or talk about their issues, emotions, or problems without risking reinforcing the harmful stigma that men should be manly and never cry. It is definitely improving compared to a few years ago. It is now more socially acceptable to talk about feelings. However, in the early 2000s and centuries before, if you spoke about your feelings and cried, you were seen as weak or childish. Women, from what I have observed, have a better understanding of each other's feelings, are open with each other, and can talk for hours about their issues. Men do not always have that support, and not being able to open up and talk about one's issues can be detrimental to mental well-being. Story 13. The relationships they have as friends compared to men with other men are different. For men, it is more about getting together, drinking, and watching a game. From what I have seen, their time together is deeper and more genuine. I know for some men, just having someone to drink with and watch a game is all they want. Story 14. I am not jealous, but I am envious of the disproportionate desirability that women have when it comes to dating. Story 15. The choice of clothing is vast, with many types, shapes, and options available. Dresses, for example, must be very comfortable during the warm summer. Story 16. When a woman opens up about her mental health, people are often supportive. They will check on her continuously until she feels better. However, in my experience as a man, if I genuinely try to confide in someone, they often do not care. In fact, I have lost all the friends I confided in, as well as past relationships. Once you open up to a significant other, it often feels like it is game over. This is not fair. That is why many of us struggle in silence. It seems that nobody cares about us unless we offer something they value. Story 17. I like that the variety of clothes considered acceptable for them to wear is more diverse than ours. This is particularly noticeable when working in an office, but you can see it just walking down the street as well. Story 18. The support they receive from other women. Frequent compliments when they dress up. Femininity is broader than masculinity. Easier to enter into a relationship. Many options in shops. The ability to go out without worrying about making others uncomfortable. Story 19. The vast variety of styles, colors, and patterns for women's clothing offers much more choice than men's clothing. Story 20. It's interesting how many people said clothes and fashion. That was my first thought too. 100 degrees outside, and what can men wear for office casual? The still pants and a polo shirt. Women get to wear a dress and open shoulders with sandals. The same goes for shopping. There is so much available for women on clearance at stores for cheap because they are constantly rotating stock. Unless you are a size small or triple extra large, there is never much good men's clothing on the clearance rack. Story 21. Their growth and feelings are nurtured and supported. Even if they make mistakes along their journey of self-discovery, they receive encouragement to try again and keep going. Additionally, fashion choices are considered. Story 22. Women's friendships seem more supportive and vulnerable, but they also seem more catty and prone to fights and gossip. I think I would keep my communal grunting. Story 23. Their outfit choices in professional settings seem varied and stylish. As a man, my options are a suit with a blazer, a suit without a blazer, or sometimes a sweater. Story 24. It's the massive amount of nerve endings they have down there. I have always wondered how intense and stimulating their orgasms must be. Story 25. Getting to wear makeup, lingerie, feminine clothing, nail polish, jewelry, and so on. I am, of course, not jealous of the expectation for women to wear at least some of these items. Story 26. Having your value in the eyes of society and in the dating market be independent from your net worth. Story 27. Somewhat off topic, but I came into this thread thinking women have it easier than men in many ways and that I would be envious. Instead, it had the opposite effect and made me realize that men probably have it better. Yes, women can get attention from the opposite sex more easily, but the flip side is unwanted male attention, harassment, or feeling unsafe. Men can generally go out after dark without being bothered. Women are more likely to get away with showing less accountability, whereas a man would be called careless. However, men have much more autonomy and freedom overall. Women get to dress how they want, but they often have to think actively about what they wear to weddings or the office. Men can generally get away with a suit, shirt, and smart trousers for most occasions. These are just a few examples. I imagine women might be jealous of some things that men generally have or get to do, but after considering it all, they might conclude that they are pretty happy as they are. It is all relative to what we know. I think it is a great exercise for everyone to do because it helps appreciate your blessings. After all, we are lucky not to have been born as pigeons or something. Story 28. Not jealous because I know that women have their own issues to deal with, but the unfairness of the social acceptability of bisexuality in women is clear. A woman is bisexual? Oh, hot and sexy. A man is bisexual? Not possible. He is gay in real life. Story 29. The most common comment is multiple orgasms, yet when speaking with real women, men usually cannot even make them climax once. I am not counting the women who have difficulty climaxing themselves. Story 30. They can show every emotion and cry their eyes out even in public. But if a man shows the same amount, he will appear weak. Story 31. Not really jealous of anything, but yes, when considering women or men, women are most trusted and seen as empathetic, kind people. Story 32. Probably most women have better hair than men. Also, baldness is rare in women. For men, it is quite common. In their 20s, 16 to 20%. In their 30s, 25 to 33%. In their 40s, 40 to 53%. In their 50s, 50 to 66%. 60 and older, 85%. Story 33. There is a greater variety of styles and colors for clothes. In the United States, colors for men's clothing are very limited. It is like this. I want to keep my pockets, however. Story 34. Fashion and style choices. They have many cute accessories and different ways of expressing themselves. I have spent hours looking into how dangling earrings look on men and have concluded that only certain men can pull off the look, and I am not one of them. Story 35. Being valued. Feeling valued even in the slightest. Being able to be emotional to an extent without it being held against them. Anytime I have shown emotion, especially when women wanted me to open up, it has backfired on me. Story 36. Multiple orgasms and the ability to go out in public without being assumed to be a creep, especially around children. Story 37. Their ability to express emotions openly without being judged. Society gives them space we do not always get. Story 38. Comments on weight. Every time someone sees my wife, they comment on how much weight she has lost and how great she looks. Every time they see me, it's comments about how I have really let myself go, even though the truth is the opposite. I have lost 60 pounds and she has gained about 20. Societal support is a big factor. My mother died on Christmas a year ago, and I was basically told to suck it up and get on with my life. My sister, her stepdaughter, had months of people checking on her, seeing if she needed anything, and a fair amount of bereavement time. I was given the day of the funeral as bereavement and had to take paid time off to travel there. 2 weeks later, one of my coworkers in human resources had a family member die, and she was given 2 weeks of bereavement because women process differently. When I expressed difficulty getting through, one of my bosses suggested I just tear into one of our contractors to feel better, because that is what real men do. Then I was judged harshly when I went to counseling because the human resources coworker received the work note and started gossiping about how I had mental challenges to anyone who would listen. She took it upon herself to tell me that I needed to grow up and stop crying over my mother, and that her sons would die before someone saw them cry in public. I still have nightmares about getting home after dinner and seeing the ambulance and all the fire trucks outside. But I will be damned if I ever let anyone else know how broken I am again. Story 39. The ability to ask for advice without judgment is valuable. Women seem to have a camaraderie among themselves that men do not quite have. Men have connections, but they may not be as strong. Women tend to lift each other up, whereas there often seems to be a secret competition among men, whether intentional or not. Story 40. I cannot help but notice a common theme here. You are imagining very attractive women when you make your cases for jealousy. Most of what is making you jealous are privileges reserved for the most attractive women. But this jealousy stems from how men treat these women because of their attractiveness. The rest of us who are not rated 8, 9, or 10 still have to work, face consequences, and do not get special treatment. Story 41. Attracting attention from the opposite gender, being asked out, receiving compliments, and not having to pay for dates. Story 42. If I am going to be 100% honest here, being that I am a crossdresser, everything bodies, hair, clothing, and femininity, the way some walk around just exuding the power of their gender. Girl power, the strength of women. Having a way to express emotions that is accepted. Girlfriend groups. Grace, use of space, and a hint of lace. In my opinion, women are simply amazing. Story 43. The biggest thing I am jealous of is how much more people care about others in general by default. Everyone is willing to socialize, laugh at jokes, spend time together, do favors, and spend money, all without even knowing someone at first. As a man, you receive basically none of these privileges automatically. However, as a man, if someone is friends with you, you typically do not have to question their intentions and know they truly are your friend. Story 44. They wear all the cool fashion attire. It is getting better, but dresses and pants are impressive. The formal attire is very stylish. Cleavage is used as a fashion accessory. Can you imagine any form of male genitalia making a public appearance? No way. I guess the male nipple is a privilege, but does anyone care for that view? No. Story 45. Professional dress codes. With over 20 years in the workforce, I have never worked somewhere where I would not hear about it if I did not wear all of the following: a collared shirt in a solid color or conservative pattern, full-length pants, socks darker than my pants that extend above the ankle, and closed-toed shoes, usually dress shoes but occasionally athletic shoes, regardless of the weather. Meanwhile, the women in the office can wear a tank top, shorts, a long cardigan, and flip-flops if they are not in client-facing roles, and a light, flowy dress if they are. I just do not want to be uncomfortably hot all summer. Story 46. Everybody forgives them for being clumsy or unable to do something. When a man is clumsy, he is done. It is unacceptable for a man in a masculine world to be unable to do something. You are a man, act like one. Story 47. Their variety of outfits and sense of fashion. I feel like they have more options than men. When I want to venture out, I get judged harshly. One time I finally had the courage to wear my gym crop t-shirt and was judged by my coworkers at the company gym. I just wanted to show my abs and tummy. Never again. Story 48. The fact that people feel much safer around them, even when people do not love. Everywhere I go, it is clear that people feel some sense of being threatened by me. Not experiencing that would be great, but I understand that we are supposed to be threatening. Story 49. I am going to sort by controversial and sit back to watch the chaotic discussion that this thread is going to become. Story 50. The social value they have is significant. You hear a lot about patriarchy and male privilege, but if a woman is struggling, society will bend over backwards to make sure she is all right. Women can live sheltered, work-free lives if they find a suitable partner. Even in online discourse, they are treated favorably. Women seem to possess inherent value, whereas unless you are a productive and high-earning man, you are almost worthless by comparison. Men cannot be emotionally vulnerable without being judged or ostracized by many people. Story 51. Their long hair is like a real-life do not disturb function. Whenever you are upset at someone talking in front of you, just flick your hair annoyingly and look the other way. Do any girls do that, or is it just my imagination? Story 52. The ease of dating. I understand that women have to be more careful and sift through many unsuitable partners while dating, but the options for the average woman 35 and under are seemingly infinite. My wife and I have a female friend who got divorced in November. In December, she was telling us how hard it was to juggle all her dates each week, sometimes having two back-to-back or set up in case one didn't work out. Meanwhile, as a man, when I was still dating, I had to carry the initial conversation, get through the first date filter, and even then, when things seemed to be going well, face sudden ghosting or I met someone else texts. Story 53. Not having to initiate anything. Technically, I do not do it either way, but even if I were perfect, I would still have 100 times more success if I were just an average or below average woman. Story 54. So many things. The attention, the support system even from complete strangers, and the advantages and benefits they receive. Yes, there are drawbacks too that men do not have to deal with, but it must be nice. Story 55. I am the only boy among 7 siblings, 3 older and 3 younger. I am not jealous of anything. Starting in 4th or 5th grade, social and physical dynamics become challenging. We have it much easier. Story 56. Women are just beautiful, and I mean all of them. Their figures, their eyes, their skin. I find their clothes far nicer too. Flattering to the female figure, artistic and interesting. More than anything, women's hair is amazing. Whether it is just long and straight, curly, or my personal favorite, intricate, gorgeous braids. It makes me want to grow my hair long if only I did not need it short for work. In short, I am jealous of the natural grace and beauty women exude. Story 57. Being able to wear skirts and crop tops without people looking at you strangely does not stop me. But whatever. Story 58. I'm not jealous of anyone. I do have to commend them, though, for their patience. I absolutely love them, and I also like that aspect about them, though it's far from something I'd be envious of. They are socialized to handle emotions better than men because they've essentially been forced to due to the flawed system they've been born into. Do you think they want to be out here holding men's hands trying to walk them through basic, I hate my dad type issues, or worse, end up having an otherwise great relationship come to an unnecessary end just because of the men don't cry backwards thinking that a lot of men still have instead of choosing to put in the work to evolve emotionally? No, they are strong by nature, just impeccably patient by nurture. If you know, but for those who don't, try tapping into your girl's competitive nature sometime and challenge her. See how quickly she is to show her strength. They are eager to, trust me. Emotional incompetence will only be tolerated for so long. The writing has been on the wall for a while now. Figure it out, men. Story 59. Women release emotions better than men, depending on how you define handling emotions. Men handle emotions by controlling them, choosing not to act on or be overwhelmed by the emotion. Women handle emotions by fully experiencing and expressing them, often playing out their emotions so that they dissipate instead of being stored as potential emotional trauma. If you want to avoid storing emotional trauma, you need to fully experience the emotion, accept it, be with it, and ultimately feel it. This process does not necessarily involve tears. Story 60. They seem to have a better support system, especially when they go through breakups. Men might take you out to the bar for a weekend, but I have seen women literally fly their friends out for vacations, buy Taylor Swift tickets and spa days. There is a reason they live longer. Story 61. Compliments mainly. They seem to receive compliments, and people openly adore them quite often. Story 62. Easier for women to improve their appearance. Much greater clothing diversity. Makeup. Having a nice body mostly involves maintaining a healthy weight, not building muscle. Story 63. They can wear short skirts or dresses on hot days and enter anywhere. However, some places do not allow men to enter wearing shorts. Story 64. Nothing. Many things are easier for them, and many things that interest me as a man are more difficult for them. Story 65. It is the massive amount of nerve endings they have down there. I have always wondered how intense their orgasms must be. Story 66. I think there is hardly anything to be jealous about for us, considering the setbacks we suffer are much greater than any advantage we gain. Story 67. Actually, having the privilege of wearing nail polish without being stared at because it is considered a female thing is rare. I love to wear black nail polish, but in some neighborhoods or situations I feel embarrassed because I can see their faces and what they are thinking, like, oh my God, how can a man wear that? I really hate this so much for real. Story 68. Women's fashion is much more diverse and interesting. Female social groups appear healthier. Women are generally more nurturing and authentic. Story 69. Being attractive by default. I feel the average woman is seen as attractive, and even if she has some flaws, many of them can be hidden with makeup. For a man to be seen as attractive, he has to have won the genetic lottery. Story 70. OnlyFans. I wish I could make money sitting at home alone. I do work from home, but that is beside the point. What matters is how they can excite intense desire in the opposite sex. Story 71. Variety of clothes. If men wear crop tops, it is assumed they are gay. There is barely any variety in underwear, but it can still be seen as gay even if men are straight. Mental health problems are not made fun of. As much sex as desired. More chances given when mistakes are made. More care provided when sick or injured. Story 72. I'm not exactly jealous, but it must be nice to work out naked as a flat-chested woman. There's nothing in the way bouncing around. Also, women do not have to worry about their testicles getting caught in their climbing harness. Story 73. Equality is not truly equal. It may be difficult to express in writing, but equality for males is different from equality for females. When a man treats a woman like a man, It is not always the equality she is seeking. Story 74. The power they hold over men. Even the proudest man will secretly be with a woman that other men would ignore if she uses her feminine charms on him. Women have many ways of attracting a man. Scents, clothing, hair, conversation, dancing, teasing. It is an art. Story 75. They usually find dating easier than men. They have more choices and can be passive, as most of the time men are the ones who make the first step and initiate. Story 76. The specific age group of women you are discussing makes me realize how invisible other ages are. The privilege you all talk about applies only to women between certain ages and certain beauty standards because, trust me, older, overweight, unattractive women do not experience that privilege. Anyway, back to my sad, lonely existence, as my situation does not magically make me less lonely, poor, or mentally stable. Story 77. I am not a man, but my husband tells me all the time he is jealous that I get to stay home and spend time with the babies, while he has to leave and go make it in the world. Story 78. I am jealous of how close women bond with each other, such as going on vacations together, planning weekend getaways, visiting wineries, shopping, and so on. Men just do not do that. Or if we do, like hunting and fishing trips, it is not with the same regularity. Story 79 might be wrong, but it seems to me it is easier to find partners. All my female friends are in relationships. Some of my male friends and I are not. I actually only know one single woman. That could be why I am single too, though. Story 80. They can go out with friends for brunch or something, have a light conversation over a glass of wine, share a few laughs, and return to their homes. It is unpredictable with men. I do not know what will happen. Men often tell you their plans, which I usually find of limited interest, ask for your help with something, or complain about a sports team. Story 81. What you mentioned depends on the person because I have seen both types of people. Those who cannot control their emotions and those who do it very well. Story 82. Right now, I am learning to listen more to my dad's experiences as a boy growing up and how fatherhood is for him. One thing that is hard for men, which we all need to understand, is that men have no choice when it comes to going to the front lines and going to war, nor in having to take the blame regardless and calling it responsibility. Sometimes we should do what others do when they see a runaway or a soldier running away. Help them with their wounds. Story 83. Having many options of people to date on a daily basis. Being able to decide whether or not you want to be single. Never being expected to pursue someone romantically, whatever that even means. For women, it is like they get a menu the size of a Cheesecake Factory menu of men to date, and if they do not like any of the options, they are free to politely decline and go home. For us, it is like having to go on a drive from the east to west coast of the United States to find a bald eagle, and if you manage to find one, there is a 99% chance she will just fly away and not even notice you are there. Story 84. 10 out of 10 times, an average woman can meet someone at a bar or pub. Perhaps 1 out of many times, an average man will be successful. Story 85. Being able to create another human is a remarkable experience. I am grateful that we do not have to deal with all the difficulties that come with it. Story 86. She reached climax more than once in one session. I helped her reach orgasm 17 times once, but I only climaxed once. I practice tantric techniques, so it helps. Story 87. Random networking or training events happened in our office recently when our female manager sent an email about a billing seminar in the area that my colleague and I both work in. She did not realize that the email came from the Women in Law group, so she sent it to my male colleague and me since we are the only two who perform that role in the office. She did not realize it was women only and found it as ridiculous as we did. There is no reason why being male should prevent me from attending a seminar that helps train me for the job, especially since some of the women in the course message me daily as we sometimes co-defend cases. Story 88. At some point, there needs to be a conversation about how men cannot keep blaming socialization for their inability to articulate feelings, something most women are also spectacularly terrible at. Story 89. Being invited to and doing things simply for being a woman, to be honest. A friend of mine experiences this. She looks great. Blue eyes, blonde hair, works out, foreign accent, but she is quite literally your normal college senior driving a normal car, etc. You get the picture. Every time I look at her Instagram story, she is either on some guy's yacht, somewhere high class, or on vacation. She stays with her mom but came to my place to leave her things and freshen up since I stay near a party she was going to, and usually comes and spends the night with me instead of driving all the way back home drunk. I asked her where the party was and she said far up in the hills, multi-million-dollar homes. I was like, huh? Who do you know? She told me some guy she met at a bar invited her. He also invited her to go with him to the Formula One race that was happening nearby, but she declined. I couldn't imagine someone bringing me along to experience a multimillionaire lifestyle simply because I have a penis. Power to her though. Glad she is humble enough to still want to hang out and spend nights with me. A guy who grew up poor in Mississippi and became a truck driver who never finished college and is barely getting by in life. Story 90. Society frequently champions gender-based initiatives that benefit women, yet tends to dismiss similar efforts for men as unnecessary or regressive. Take scholarships, for example. There are numerous funding opportunities exclusively for women, such as the Moms to Scholars Fund, the 1000 Dreams Scholarship, and the Making Waves Education Fund. Male students are not eligible for these scholarships based on gender alone. While these programs have commendable goals, like supporting women in underrepresented fields or helping single mothers complete their education, they highlight a disparity in how gender-based aid is distributed. Statistics support this concern. According to data from the American College Testing Program, the average scholarship awarded to women is $2,237, compared to $1,567 for men. In Arizona, the number of scholarships available to women outpaces those offered to men in the next 36 states combined. These are not trivial gaps. They represent hundreds of millions of dollars. This is an incredible advantage for women over men. As a man who went to university, I can attest to the uphill battle of funding my education. Story 91. People should take the time to understand where others are coming from when they talk about negative experiences. For example, you would never see someone making fun of a woman for posting about her crying during sex, unlike what I have seen about a woman's boyfriend. There is formal wear designed for warmer months, and the clothing offers more variety. It can be difficult to find casual button-up shirts that are not flannel, generic fabric patterns, or items that few would want to wear publicly. Much of the clothing options end at a certain size. Additionally, not many garments are made with muscular men in mind. Some shirts are tight around the shoulders and chest but loose around the lower half. Also, some underwear does not fit well for those with thicker thighs or a fuller figure. Story 92. Jealous? Nothing. I do not feel like they are trying to take something that is mine. Maybe you meant envious? In that case, I guess there are multiple orgasms or just orgasms in general. Theirs look so much better than mine. Story 93. You can really lose your temper over something minor, and then somehow your partner ends up apologizing. I feel like if I forgot to do the dishes because both my parents died, I would still have to apologize. I just want to be allowed to have bad days and not have to pay for it. Story 94. Women are not socialized to handle emotions better. Society often gives women a pass when they struggle with managing emotions. Story 95. Clothes, heels, makeup are inherently valued just by existing, being seen as generally attractive by about 90% of the population. There are thousands of valid options for dating and intimacy, with people showing interest in you physically and romantically on a daily basis. I would happily trade all the perceived safety advantages of being a man if I could undo the more than 20 years I spent feeling invisible beyond platonic friendships and actually being wanted and desired, being seen as attractive and actively pursued as such. Story 96. Ever since the Men Going Their Own Way subreddit was banned and the members moved here, this subreddit declined significantly. Story 97. I completely agree. Men need better support structures. It can start with other men agreeing to listen. Listening is very important. Being truly heard by someone else makes a world of difference. Story 98. Nothing really. Maybe because they are allowed to be more emotional? Not an issue for me really. I am not afraid to show emotion. Story 99. They can get physical touch, physical affection, and sexual touch whenever they want. I crave physical touch all the time but rarely get it. They also receive compliments more regularly than men. Story 100. For attractive individuals, opportunities open up easily. Some men are willing to give money for various reasons, ranging from bath water to used underwear, socks, clothes, sweat, or other items. Story 101. To be able to complain about anything whenever they want is completely acceptable. I am over here trying to get that work done silently while crying inside, but there is absolutely no complaining allowed, or you no longer find me attractive because Denise's husband did it in a tank top without a complaint. Story 102. Women can wear a pair of 5-inch heels and a nice dress to a formal event, such as a wedding, party, church, or work. Men have to wear a suit with a tie, otherwise they would look too casual. Story 103. Live in easy mode, and the most difficult part is making decisions on time. While men have more time, nothing is guaranteed, and you can only rely on yourself. Story 104. Generally, women have more support systems and bailouts than men. If a couple with children separates, the court tends to lean toward women in custody battles. Women statistically receive shorter prison sentences for committing the same offenses as men. If they become homeless, there are shelters designed specifically for women and children. If a man in his 30s works part-time in retail and lives in a shared apartment, he may be labeled a loser. If a woman is in that situation, society is less likely to view her negatively. It also does not hurt dating prospects since men generally do not care about a woman's career or financial status, as long as it is not sex work. If a woman becomes physical or verbal with a man in public, bystanders tend to ignore it, sometimes laugh or record it. If the roles were reversed, the outcomes would be very different. Nobody questions the idea of a wife being a stay-at-home spouse, but if it is a stay-at-home dad, many people would have strong opinions about the dynamics. In summary, the safety net and consequences of mistakes in life are cushioned in many ways for women. This is not to say men do not have advantages, but this addresses what I am envious of regarding women. I do not condone any of the negative actions listed. Story 105. All of these advantages are only found in developed countries. I would not envy women in developing countries. Their lives are very difficult, especially women in highly religious regions such as the Middle East and India. They include the following: receiving lighter consequences for crimes, more public assistance if someone tries to attack them, being selected for more opportunities, being able to do any job without shame or suspicion, having the option not to work while still being supported, having more ways to earn money, being considered attractive after removing clothes, being able to obtain sex and dates with little to no effort. Even if they are average-looking, they do not have to ask, they are asked. Story 106. Women can change their appearance, and everyone is positive and supportive. However, when a man does anything other than lose weight, it is suddenly questioned as to who he is trying to impress or labeled as a midlife crisis. Story 107. So many sexist comments and a ton of insecurities in these responses. In my opinion, men have it much easier. The only response I could agree with is not being able to breastfeed, but even that sounds painful and tiresome. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.